You know that feeling when you're looking for something interesting and new to have for dinner, and then you find a bunch of great looking recipes online, and then you go down the blog and you realize there's 18 ingredients, half of which you've never heard of or are available in your neighborhood, or maybe it's double the calories of what you want, or it has a bunch of appliances and gadgets that you just don't have in your kitchen. To me, it's the bane of my existence, and it actually prevents me from making new things all the time. So it's like this ongoing dilemma where the internet is full of great inspiration, but you actually spend more time adjusting and revising a recipe than you do cooking the actual thing. So I kind of got sick of tweaking other people's recipes, and now I'm at a point where I just want them to fit me and my needs and my setup and my goal, and also actually includes things and ingredients that I want to eat and omits the ones that I don't want to eat. So to do this, I've started using ChatGPT as a bit of a filtering system, and not to generate brand new recipes, but more so to kind of tweak and adjust existing ones so they suit me and my needs. So I'm going to walk you through how I do all this, but essentially what I do is find a bunch of recipes online and I put them into ChatGPT, and it has a reusable prompt that I've made, and you can make your own customized version. Within that prompt is a bunch of requirements for me and my needs, whether it's calories, whether it's ingredients, or even appliances and gadgets. So then the recipe that comes out from ChatGPT is only suitable to me and my needs. And then with that ChatGPT output, I double check all the nutrients and calories and stuff in a website called Chronometer. And then if I'm satisfied with the recipe, I then save it in a Notion database for me to refer to later when I'm doing meal prep or just cooking on weekends. So it might sound complicated, but I'm going to run you through all of this step by step. And I should say that this is not really designed to make you a better cook necessarily. It's designed to have the things that you cook be a better fit for your life. So if you're tracking calories, or you're tracking macros, or you're following a specific diet, or cooking in a specific environment like a tiny home where you have limited space and limited appliances, then the idea of this is that it's adaptable to each and every person based on the actual prompt that you build. And again, I'll walk you through how to do all of this for your own needs. So the first thing is obviously finding some recipes that you want to try. So it's winter here now in Sydney, and I'm really craving a chicken noodle soup. And for me, when I'm finding recipes, I usually look at places like Pinterest, blog posts, YouTube, Instagram, all those good places. And I'm starting off with chicken noodle soup search in Google here. And I'm just going to find 3 that look interesting. So I'm going to go home style chicken noodle soup, easy chicken noodle soup, and maybe just the second one, ultra satisfying chicken noodle soup. Okay, so here we have the 3 different recipes from the 3 different websites. Shout out to the people that have written these recipes. They've done all the hard work. I just really need it to be suitable for me and my needs without me spending an hour adjusting ingredients and measurements and things. One way to do this is you can just click the jump to recipe button, which will take you past the kind of bloggy elements of the post. But what I like to do is copy and paste the entire thing in, because often there's more specific details that the blogger has written about that is not included in the actual recipe part of the page. So for example, I would just come in and copy all of this down to the last bit of the recipe. And likewise, I would do it with the other recipes as so, just copy and paste everything down to the bottom of the recipe and include any tips if they're at the bottom there. And before I paste them into ChatGPT, obviously the prompt is the most important thing. So I pay for the ChatGPT monthly subscription, which allows me to create what's called a project. And a project basically means you can have one prompt instruction, and then you can have a number of chats that are referring to that initial prompt, as opposed to just starting a new chat every time, which will be available to you if you're just on a free plan. You just have to paste your customized prompt in at the start of every time that you want to create a new recipe. So I'll quickly show you my instructions, which is basically the prompt inside of my recipe project. So up here it says instructions, and I'm just going to read it to you, right? So these are all based on my needs. You're assisting Drew, a health-focused home cook with a nutrition degree who prioritizes nutrient-dense, low-carb, gluten-free meals, but still indulges outside of these guidelines. So you can customize this to your needs based on whether you want to be sugar-free, low carb, high protein, whatever it is. You can just put in different keywords and different requirements for your needs. The more detailed, the better generally, but you don't want to add in so much where the actual output is too restrictive. And there's some other details here in my prompt, which says I want to do batch cooking. I want to have minimal cleanup. I want clean and flavorful ingredients, and I'm open to different global cuisines. So that's just the first little bit of context for the prompt that is about me and what I want to eat. And then below here, I have a bunch of of kitchen appliances and gadgets and tools that I have at home. So it knows the limitations of what I can and can't make based on what I already have at home. So if there's a certain appliance in one of these recipes, these chicken noodle soup recipes that I don't have, it will customize the output for the chicken noodle soup to my needs based on this list of kitchen appliances in my kitchen setup segment of the prompt. And below that, I have a bunch of ingredients. I'm just writing things like I want to avoid gluten and sugar and seed oils, and includes also things that I always have on hand, all my pantry staples like flowers and herbs and things like that. A little bit further down, I just have more ingredient preferences, so it knows what I like and what I don't like. And then also my cooking style and habits. So this can be a bunch of different things. I like to meal prep and batch things in advance. So obviously I want to freeze things if possible. So it can kind of customize the output based on all of my requirements, right? My appliances, my dietary requirements, my ingredient requirements, and also my cooking style requirements. So it considers everything within this prompt before it gives me the output. And also another important part of the prompt is the output that it responds to you. You can kind of format it for your own needs. So I don't really like having too much of a cluttered response. I just want each dot point of the actual step-by-step process for the cooking of the meal to just be really short and succinct. And this is, again, just something you can customize for your needs. So I'll paste this in one of the comments below on this video, the entire prompt I have here, and you can just take it and customize it for your own needs. So what I'm gonna do now is just close this instructions, and I'm gonna come back to my recipes, and I'm gonna copy and paste them all into this new chat that I've started. So really all I've done so far is decide on the recipe that I wanna make, find some inspirational sources, paste them into this chat, and now the ChatGPT prompt that I just showed you a second ago is going to analyze these 3 recipes and look at all the similarities to then give me the final output. So obviously with the chicken soup, they're probably all using chicken stock of some sort, or have a base of like a mirepoix with onion and carrot and celery. So it's going to take all of those things into consideration with the final output, and I'll show you what the output looks like. So we have a consolidated, optimized home-style chicken noodle soup based on all of my needs, and the output format here is part of the prompt that I showed you a second ago. So it's nice and simple. And here's the instructions. So super simple recipe, and it would be very, very close to the 3 recipes that I pulled from as inspiration. But again, it would take into consideration things like gluten-free elements and using different types of noodles or whatever to format the actual response for me and my needs. So for most people, they could probably just stop here and take this recipe output and then save it to an Apple Notes or a document somewhere for later use. But I like to double check things in Chronometer because part of my prompt was to meet a specific calorie target and protein target. So I want to make sure ChatGPT is giving me a correct response. And obviously you need a kind of a human touch point there to double check those numbers. So to do that, I jump over to Chronometer. So if you haven't used Chronometer before, this is what it looks like. It's completely free. There is a paid version. I don't pay for it. I'm not sponsored or anything. It is very similar to MyFitnessPal, but for me, it gives me a bit more details in terms of all your micronutrients and vitamins. So what I do is I come up to foods here and I hit custom recipes, and I want to add a new recipe. And then I simply go down the list of ingredients here and then add them in on the right-hand side here. I hit add ingredients and I'll do, for example, 2 tablespoons of butter. And then I save, and then I just go down this list. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll fast forward a second. All right, so I've entered in all of the ingredients from the ChatGPT output. I have left a few things out. Things like parsley and bay leaves don't really contribute much in the way of calories, so I don't really put them in Chronometer for that reason. But the reason that I put things in Chronometer is, again, part of my ChatGPT instructional prompt is to have the recipes that it's formulating for me to meet a specific calorie and protein target. So that's the reason for doing Chronometer, is just to double check things. So if my target was 500 calories and 30 grams of protein, now I can kind of compare what the recipe actually looks like before I want to save it as a main recipe that I go back to over and over again as part of my weekly meal prep. So I've just opened up Chronometer as a full screen here. And really what I want to do is juggle the serving sizes to meet my needs, if that kind of makes sense. So for 1 serve of this entire chicken soup recipe, it is equal to 2,439 calories. Far too much for one person to eat in one sitting. So I want to kind of manipulate the servings per recipe to meet my needs of either 500 calories or 30 grams of protein. 30 grams of protein is more of the priority for me. So it's showing me that if I divide this soup by 6, then each serving is 406 calories with 42 grams of protein. That's great, but 42 is fine. I could eat 42 grams of protein, that's not an issue. But if I bumped it down and made the meal last a bit longer, or if I wanted to maybe freeze half of it, because that, again, that was part of my ChatGPT prompt, is I like to batch cook and freeze things where possible. Then I can kind of see how much calories are per serve if I do 8 servings per recipe, for example. So at 8 servings for this chicken soup recipe, it is showing me that it'll be 31 grams of protein, or 31.6 grams of protein per serve, and the calories is only 305. So quite a low calorie dinner. And this is probably one that I would save now, because I can always fill the 300 to 500 with maybe fruit or a small dessert or something, anything else really that I want to eat. Now I would go ahead and save this recipe into Notion with these specific details. So I'll show you that now. So because I didn't really change anything in Chronometer and I'm just using the exact ChatGPT recipe output, then I can just copy and paste that directly into Notion. But of course, if I did change any of the amounts, let's say I did chicken at 900 instead, then this recipe here on the left, I'll just have to adjust this 700 to 900. So I have the recipe perfect every time that I want to go back to it in Notion. So for the purpose of this example and demonstration, I don't really need this top bit of Chronometer because I didn't change any amounts or ingredients. Really what I want to see is just the nutrition facts here, along with the actual ChatGPT recipe output. And using these two things, the left-hand column, the middle column, I can then fill in the Notion database. So to do that, I just come in and add a new page, a new recipe. We'll just call it chicken noodle soup. Open this up and I'll just start filling things in. So category will be dinner. Servings, obviously we wanted to do 8 servings here. So 8 servings. Calories per serve, 3049. So just say 305. Carbs per serve is 16.8. Fat per serve was 11.5. Protein per serve was 31.6. And then I can just tag it with different things like soup or whatever interesting tag you want to attach to things. And now all I do is really just copy and paste this in terms of the ingredients and instructions from the ChatGPT straight over into Notion here. Awesome, and now it's just all pasted in here and it's just saved forever. So anytime that I want to make a chicken noodle soup, I know that first of all, I have the appliances to make the thing and I have all the ingredients, the common ingredients that I use all the time. And more specifically for my needs, that the calories and the serving size and all that stuff has been adjusted for me. Because if I went back to these initial recipes that I pulled from as inspiration, these are the kind of details that are very helpful, and I appreciate the bloggers that do all that work, but they're not specific to my needs and my use case. The entire project here, this entire video is about making recipes that are specific and customized to your needs and just saving you time long term. So you don't have to keep hunting and adjusting, and you can just get down to business, make your food, enjoy it with your family, and just get on with life and forget about crunching numbers and stuff all the time. And then if you want to use something like Notion, like I do as a database, you can slowly build your own catalog over time rather than using cookbooks or having your grandmother's old notes on a bit of paper in a drawer somewhere. You have them all there on your phone ready to go anytime you want to make dinner. I really love this approach because it's tailored, it's flexible, it can be ever changing. If I want to change the prompt at any time, if one of my dietary requirements changes, or if I buy something new for the kitchen, in the matter of seconds, I can just add that to the prompt, and then any future output from ChatGPT is going to take that into consideration. So again, I'll leave the prompt that I use and demonstrated here in this video in one of the comments below for you. Take it and adjust it for your needs. And in the meantime, drop a like, comment below if you've used this before and any recipes that you made using this system. I'd love to hear about them and make them myself. And subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I'd appreciate that. And I'll see you guys in the next video.